And that's when my life turned upside down. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Leah, and today we're gonna do a little story time video. It's gonna be like an intimate, like one-on-one type video. And I don't know, it took me a long time to do this video because I'm in such a different time in my life right now. But we're gonna talk about the worst guy that I ever dated. I don't even want to call him a guy, a demon. He was really a demon, high key. Some things are really gonna be hard for me to talk about, but I feel like there's so many women that are going through this, and even worse, that I feel like it's important to talk about it because we've all been there before. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share. I got my nails did for my birthday. Oh, I was supposed to do a birthday vlog for you guys, but I really didn't get around to doing it. We can expect more vlogs in the future, but I'm so mad I didn't get to vlog my birthday. But anyway, okay guys, so I just want to put a disclaimer out there. This video is really not like a laughing matter. I just laugh because I'm uncomfortable talking about it. It was years ago, and I think now I'm ready to do a story time about it. I've been wanting to do a story time about it just because it was so traumatic. Even though I'm ready to, well, I think I'm ready to share the story time, I just want to say that there was some forms of abuse, not physical, but I didn't recognize that it was abusive because it wasn't physical. I didn't really connect the two, and I'm going to talk about that later. And not being able to recognize abuse unless it's physical. So I'll just start. It was nothing like I ever experienced before with any guy, no matter how ain't shit they were. I had never been through this with somebody before. Like, I've been with guys that were like liars, or they were not reliable or shit like that, but not degrading or abusive, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's in no way to make fun of abusive relationships or situations like that. This is just my story, and sometimes I laugh because I'm a bit uncomfortable because, yeah. This thing, I don't even want to call him a human, like, honestly, like, this thing. So he was not from the country. He was new, and we met at work. Let me know in the comments if that's a red flag. I don't know. I was young. I think I was 17 when I started working there. And I had been working there for a long time, but he came at the tail end. So probably like maybe 2 years later, he came. He wasn't always there. Like, he was new or whatever. And I didn't really think nothing of him. I actually thought he was kind of younger than me, but which he wasn't. Yeah, we were the same age, but I don't know, I just thought he was like immature looking. Like, I never really paid him any mind. He was just like whatever to me, like, oh, like a new person. Like, I think him and a whole bunch of other people got hired, so I didn't really notice him like that. Like, as he started working there, I just thought like he was a bit weird, just like not cute at all. Looks was not his best. Like, looks wasn't really on his side. And but you can say everybody's like beautiful in their own way, but obviously you have your own like preferences, or someone that you're like attracted to. They have like a certain build or whatever, and he just was nothing for me. Like, definitely not good looking, but I'm not the type of person to really judge people on looks. Like, I like to go for like the personality, and like if we vibe, yeah. And you can always appreciate somebody that looks good, somebody that you're attracted to, but he wouldn't be my first choice, we'll just say that. I didn't really notice him. I think we probably had been working at the same place for a year, and I didn't really take him in. Like, I think we would say hi, bye, but yeah, as I started working with him, I would just like, you observe people that you work with, and I just thought he was like kind of gross. He was always talking to a girl or like flirting with a girl, but really close. You see like a player, like he didn't even give off those player vibes. It was like he was trying to be a player, you know what I mean? Like, it was just so gross to watch and observe. and we're gonna talk about red flags by the end of this video, because I am a prime example of somebody that ignored the red flags. And I honestly now, just even making this video, realized that God was teaching me a lesson when I met this demon. But yeah, always flirting with all the girls, you know, it just seemed very slimy and gross, like everything that I don't like. Keep that in mind, okay? Then like fast forward like a year, I started hearing talks that, you know, he's like feeling me or whatever. He thought I was pretty, and it was like guys that I was cool with, they would come and tell me, you know, like, he really likes you, like, give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance. I'm like, what? Where's this coming from? Like, because I just thought it was very interesting. I thought he was just trying to like get to me next, because he'd been talking to everybody, even the girls I was cool with at the place. He was talking to them, he was even flirting with them. But at the time, I didn't really think nothing of it, because I wasn't really focused on him. I didn't really notice him, you know what I mean? So I just kept declining, no, and avoiding him. Not avoiding him, but like, I didn't really care about him. Like, he was just there, you know, because I didn't know him. I wish I kept it that way, because once you get involved, it's over. It's over. And I'll tell you, he would not stop. He would not stop. When I say he was persistent, he was effing persistent, okay? I had never been pursued like that by a guy before. Upon research later on that I did, I came to realize that somebody that's like overly persistent and like always trying to get you, trying to be like overly charming, that's a sign of a narcissist, you know, because it's like it would hurt their ego to not be able to get you. Like, they feel like it's a game, like, oh, you said no, I can win you over type thing, you know? And I think I was just like taken aback by it. And he would like buy me stuff, he'll buy me food. I didn't even know him. I want to say I denied him for like a year, and then everybody was starting to make me feel bad. Everybody that I work with was starting to make me feel bad, and I gave him a chance. And that's when my life turned upside down. I finally gave him a chance, and my friends that really knew me, like that I didn't work with, like not my work friends, they thought I was insane, like crazy, like no, Leah, this is not you, this is not you, this is not you, like don't, you know? And then I had my other work friends, like half of them were saying, do not get with him, like he seems gross, da da da. And then the other half was like, he seems like a nice guy. Mind you, we all did not know him, because we all had been working there before him. So he was like the newest addition, I guess, newest person to get hired. And I should have just listened to my friends, my guy friends, of course, you know, guys stick together. They were making me feel bad. So I went ahead and gave him a chance, and I will never forget it. Let me back up. So I think I had got his number, and I don't know how, or he got my number somehow, I can't even remember, but we did exchange numbers. I think we all just had each other on social media. You know how it is at that age, like we just all had each other's contact. So eventually, you know, like I think I was one of the last people to have him on, I think, Facebook. He added me on Facebook or whatever, and he got my number, and he would just talk to me sometimes. He seemed cool, but then he would say some shit that like felt like he liked me, and I was just like, ew, like I'm not really feeling you like that, brother. But eventually we started talking, and I remember I was talking to my friend. This was before we ended up dating. I was talking to my friend, and I was like, ew, he's so gross, he's so gross. And oh my gosh, it was like a voice note on WhatsApp, and I sent it to him by accident. Bro, I was so embarrassed, but thank God that happened, so that he knows. But anyway, so now we're gonna fast forward back to when we actually started dating. I remember the first day, and it was like, it was a new thing. I was like, okay, so we're dating. Well, I guess I have a new boyfriend now. Interesting. I thought it was gonna be great, because he had done all these things, being so charming, and he was like the sweetest person, like worshiping the ground that I walked on. And he was even like patient, like even the way that he would speak to me. And when we started dating, that went out the door. Like I didn't even know that he was the type of guy to do certain things. He seemed like the sweetest person when you did talk to him, but what I initially saw in the beginning, the red flags and all of that, I was right. I noticed immediately that he was very unreliable and very like bouncy, like fidgety. Like He wanted to be there, and like looking back, I guess it's because he had just come up here. Like, he's not from here, so he wanted to experience Toronto. Like, he came to Toronto like, ooh, girls, the city, like things to do. Like, he was very frightened. In Jamaica we say frightened. Like, he wanted to be down so bad, like, you know what I mean? Like, he wanted to be cool so bad because I guess he was in Canada, I guess he was in Toronto, like, I don't know. But first red flag, or I don't even know if this is the second red flag. So the first red flag was that he was very flirtatious. The second red flag was that he was very overly charming, like trying to do everything to get me, wouldn't take no for an answer. Red flag number 3, unreliable. So nothing was really planned. I think in a relationship I expect a guy to be like a gentleman and plan things out. He was very like, let's go with the flow. I remember he was really spontaneous. One thing that I really had a problem with right away, he would always double book me. Always double book me, and I mean all the time. He wouldn't even tell me. So he would plan to go out, and then he'll be like, okay, I have to go link my friend after, or like beforehand. And that used to bother me so much because I felt like he was trying to do so many different things at once. I guess like he was no longer like interested in me because he wanted to do this, that, and the third. And he was always cutting our time in half, or he was always cutting it short. And like last minute, we'll be enjoying something like on a date, and you know, I'm chilling, I just want to relax, I just want to vibe. He'd be like, okay, so I was supposed to link downtown, do you want to come or not, like type thing. And that shit always used to bother me. Like, it always used to bother me because I just felt like so rushed all the time. He was always acting as if like I was holding him back, like he wants to go and experience the world and I'm just always in the way, or like, okay, I did my time with you, I have something else to do. Like, I always felt like that. Naturally, I'm a very confident person. I have my insecurities, but I never have been a person that didn't have confidence, you know? I remember a time where we planned to spend the day together. He would always say one thing, and then when it came down to it, he would not follow through. He was not a man of his word at all. He was always switching things up, and I found myself always having to like accommodate for him, or like always trying to brush it off for him, because he was making it seem like he was the only one that had a life. So I remember we planned to spend the day together, and he was like getting ready in front of me. And then he was like, oh, it's my friend's birthday dinner. Oh yes, I remember. He also said that he was going to invite me, I guess like a +1. So I thought we were gonna go together, like after we spent our day. And he was like, just stay. He said something like, I'm just gonna go. And I'm like, what? Did you not invite me? And he was like, yeah, like you don't have to come. Just like that. That just shot me right down. But yeah, that took a shot at my confidence. Honestly, I'm not the person that takes shit like that, but I had never had it happen to me before. Like, I never had a guy talk to me that way or do something like that to me. Like, usually I'm like, are you dumb? But I was so taken aback by just the fact that he was so content with saying it. He was like, you know, stay home. And I was just so confused, and it makes sense to me later on because it was for a girl that he went to college with, and I didn't know her, but I met her a couple times, and every time I was around her, like, she would always have this look, like she would always look at me with like sad eyes, but she was kind of like angry at the same time. And I was like, why is she looking at me like that? And I asked him, like one time I even asked him, I'm like, why does she look at me like that? Like, what's wrong with her? And he was like, yeah, I think it's just you. I think it's just you still. I don't know what you're talking about. He was really good at that. He was really good at brushing me off and shutting me down. And I just kind of looked down like, okay. But that's another red flag. I don't even know what red flag we're on now, but he had a lot of friends who were girls. Majority of his friends were girls. It was just really weird. I don't know why. I knew something felt wrong, but I don't know, like I don't know what I was thinking. But later on, towards the end of the relationship, when I ended up going through his phone, that was one of the girls. I saw that same girl, and he was kissing her on the cheek, and I think on the lips. I can't even remember, but he had like videos, and I'm like, that's why she was looking at me like that, because I don't even think they were a thing, but I think he was flirting with her. And when he introduced me as his girlfriend, she was like, wow, you know. And that was one event. This whole video is really gonna be, I can't remember the timeline because it was very traumatic, and it's part of the reason why I have anxiety today. So sometimes when you go through things that are traumatic, it messes with your memory, and that's what happened to me. So it's just going to be a series of things that I can remember that were traumatic. He was interested in music, wanted to be a rapper. He definitely wasn't any good, child, but whew, I supported him because he was my man at the time. Even though he was shit, I still supported him. I was just a dumbass. I remember he used to do like shows and stuff like that, and this was when I had a feeling that he was a narcissist. I had encountered my very first narcissist, but something really disturbing happened. I would always be there like to support him and stuff like that, but whenever I would go to these shows, he would have this air about him. All of a sudden he was like a different person, somebody that I didn't really recognize, almost as if he transformed into this, you know, like too cool, or like, yeah, I'm that guy doing shows and shit. Like he wanted to be, he always used to talk about being respected. He wanted to be respected so bad. He would always talk about it. He was just very big on like status, and that's actually a big trait with narcissists. They want everybody to adore them and respect them, and you know. Anyway, we were at this show, and then there was this other girl that was performing, and she was wearing like a skimpy ass outfit, ass cheeks hanging out, breasts all out, and I was standing right there, and he wanted to take a picture with her so bad. And there was like so many other artists there, but he wanted to take a picture with her, specifically her. And I was like looking at him like, what? So then he ends up taking a picture with her after I expressed that I'm not cool with that, because it's not even about the picture. It's just the fact that he wanted to take a picture with only her. In my mind, I knew why. Because dating him, I always felt like he was looking the other way. You know, I would even catch him like looking at other girls like when we were together, and I'm just like, the like, he tried to play me. He really tried to play me. A girl like me. Can you imagine that? He really tried to play me like I wasn't shit. But anyway, you know that song by Brandy? Don't even think about calling me crazy. You know you peep that lady. That song, I could relate to that song so heavy. Like, he was always looking at girls, and I always felt like, I couldn't never prove it, but I always felt like he was talking to somebody else, or, you know, I never had like security with him. I never felt secure with him. Specifically, he was a professional at gaslighting me. So he was like, what's wrong with you? This is my dream. And he's like, this is part of the job. Like, this guy thinks he's a effing celeb right now. You can't be acting like this. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, you know why you want to take a picture with her. And his hand placement was so inappropriate. It was so close. It was like right up on her hip. He was holding her close, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? I was so upset. And this was further into the relationship. And then he had his weak ass, nerd ass friend chirping after the show. I guess he saw that I was upset, and he was like, oh, he literally told me, he's like, what's wrong? If I was to poke you, you would break. Basically saying like, you seem insecure. And the demon started laughing. Like, they both started laughing, like literally laughing at me. And I only realized later on that he was such a bully. I had never been in a relationship with a guy that has so much fun and so much joy in my pain. Literally, he caused me so much pain, and then he would laugh about it. And that's why I really feel like he was actually a narcissist. There was even a time where we were coming from some event, and he was wearing a suit or something like that, and I can't remember the context, but we were talking about something, and he was like, look at me, look at me. He's like, why wouldn't anybody think I'm all that? Like, look at me. And I thought he was joking, and I started laughing, and he was dead serious. Dead serious. I didn't even know who I was dating at that point because I was shocked. A cocky guy is such a turnoff to me, so I was like, who are you? Like, what is going on, you know? And I'm realizing that that was him the whole time. And he had a cousin that was like a little bit younger, and he would always say, I'm better than him, I'm better than him, because I guess he would annoy him sometimes. You know, he was younger, like kind of like a younger bro, but he would say things like, that's why he's trying to come for me and all this stuff. And I was like, better than him? Like, he would literally say things like that. I know this story time is probably all over the place, but like I said, guys, I'm trying to remember all these things. And I think I missed something very early on. A huge red flag in the beginning of the relationship was when I think he visited back home to where he's from, and I guess he went up there for like carnival or whatever. And on Snapchat, he was posting girls dancing and just like videos of them from behind and him dancing with girls and recording it, and I was mortified, okay? And I was telling him this is a problem, and I think everybody's different. I think most people don't want to see their boyfriend or girlfriend doing that, but at the same time, a lot of us are of Caribbean descent, and he was born in the Caribbean, so I guess that was normal for him. But once I expressed to him that I'm not cool with that, he didn't stop. He would argue with me. Another red flag. He would just argue with me and argue with me. He wasn't a man, you know? He didn't want to listen to me or what I had to say, and I would put up a fight too. And he would say he wouldn't do it anymore, and then he would do it. So he was just the most disrespectful guy that I have ever been with, easily. And that's when I should have just walked away and called it quits, but I don't know why I didn't. I remember he said that he was gonna come over, and I told my mom and my dad that he's coming. It was supposed to be an event, like a planned thing, like a barbecue. And my dad went and got the girl, and we went and bought freaking burgers and everything, and like toppings and stuff for him. Mind you, he had never met my family before, so we were just trying to do something nice because he was coming over. He said he was gonna come, and we made the food, and this is so embarrassing, but I know that there's girls out there that probably have stories that are just as bad. But yeah, he didn't come. He didn't end up coming, and my mom was like, is he still coming? And I was like, I don't think so. And it was just so embarrassing. I had to like lie and save face and be like, oh, I think he's staying late from work. And he wasn't. He just wasn't answering me. He had stopped answering me, and I was wondering where he was. The burgers were getting cold. I just took my clothes off, put my pajamas on, put the food away, and literally cried myself to sleep. It was just the disrespect for me. Like, I don't know, I just wasn't used to that type of mistreatment, and that wasn't even the abuse that I'm talking about. So he then messages me that same day that he flopped, in the night, like 11, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't even remember what the hell he said, but I did not talk to him for like 2 days, and kept messaging me and messaging me and messaging me, and I was just ignoring him. 2 days later, he finally was like, wow, you're really holding up, eh? LOL. Like, he was just such a narcissist. Like, he thought it was funny, you know? There were so many times like that. There were so many times where he said he would come and he wouldn't. I remember I had work, and he said he would wait for me. This was like at a new job. I eventually left. I ended up at another job. He would come after work, but like, he would rush me. He would always like give me a hard time and be like, oh, I'm gonna leave if you don't come in the next 5 minutes. He was not patient with me, you know? He was just so into himself, so worried about himself, so unapologetically selfish. I was just like taken aback. I didn't even know what to do. I should have just left, but I think I was frozen. He was just giving me so much anxiety. Everything was just so intense, and he was so last minute too. And I would always say yes because I felt like I wouldn't be able to see him because he always wanted to be on the go. And I think eventually things became so bad. It was always a pattern. It was always a cycle. He was always liking videos on Instagram of women, like half naked women, and like I really think he did have a problem with that. I was very uncomfortable with the content that he was engaging in. Like, I was just so disgusted with him. And when I met him, I think I might have been maybe 10-15 pounds heavier, and by the end of the relationship, I had lost it all. I was the smallest I had ever been in my life. I never lost weight like that before until I met him, because he was giving me so much anxiety. I always felt like he was talking to somebody, talking to girls. I always felt like he was doing something. I was just so disgusted by him, and I wasn't eating because I really let this guy take over my life and, you know, my dignity, and I let him run all over me. I had never let a guy do that to me before, but I had never experienced a guy that was such a narcissist before, that I didn't know like what to do. Is this normal? I was constantly battling what's normal and what's not, and he was always trying to convince me that social media is not real life, and if I'm with you, then why are you worried about other girls, why are you insecure and all this stuff. It was very like mentally abusive. He was always lying to me, flirting with girls, and I didn't realize before, but now I realize, or not now, but after I left him and it had been some years, I realized that he was actually very jealous of me, and that's literally a thing. Yeah, somebody that you're with can be jealous of you, you know, even guys can be jealous of women, because he was always putting me down. You know, like we both had interests in music and we would often go to the studio, and I think that's what really connected us, but I think it stopped there. Like we didn't have no business being with each other. He was toxic with a capital T, but I did like the fact that he would always get me like studio time or get me access to a studio, and I could be creative and, you know, write music. And it's kind of sad because I was able to do those things and express myself creatively because he was hurting me, so I had to like release it. So it was kind of like a toxic cycle, you know. Anyway, to get back to my point, I thought he was on my side encouraging me to sing because he's like, oh yeah, you can sing, you know. But then the relationship always came like last, like not even second or third or fourth, just last. I felt like he didn't really care about dating, really. I went to school for journalism, and he knew that I had access to certain people that could do interviews and stuff like that. He knew I had access to cameras and radio stations and stuff like that. So he started to become obsessed with, oh, how can you get me an interview? How can you do the radio thing and get me out there, get my music out there? Like it became about that. That's all he was talking about. That's all he cared about. Everything else was not that important. Sometimes we would just be talking, vibing, and he would change the subject and talk about the music thing. I just really felt like he was using me. I could never really relax with him or enjoy my time with him. And I say that he was jealous because every time I would get a compliment, he would kind of laugh, like he would laugh, literally. And I just thought that was crazy. This lady was telling me, yeah, you know, you're gonna be really successful. She was just complimenting me. I just remember feeling that dirty, negative energy, demonic, dark energy off of him. I remember years ago, by the way, I wanted to do YouTube, but I never really had the confidence to do it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for sure. I have many passions. And then I remember explaining that to him, and he was like, well, what do you like to do? Like, what do you really like to do? This is literally how he was talking to me. And I was like, well, I like to read books. I like to make music. I'm interested in teaching. And he just literally started laughing. He was like, like that. You know, he was like being condescending in that moment. And I was like, well, I'm not really for sure right now. I was like, what, 19 years old, 20 years old? He was like, you have to know, but you have to know. It was just so weird, the abrasiveness that he was coming at me with. It was just too much. I never felt safe with him. He always made me feel like I had to hurry up and find something to do with my life or else. I was in college. I realized later that he was projecting because he felt like he was running out of time and make it big by this time, or else his mom is gonna say, nope, the music thing is over. And it was just little things like that. He was so demeaning and condescending. He was mean. He loved to make me feel like shit. I think he got a kick out of hurting me. Whenever I would cry, his face showed nothing. He definitely ruined that part of my life. He always wanted to be adored. Like everything had to be about him. He wanted me to take pictures of him all the time. He just wanted the whole world to revolve around him. I remember one time I brought him food and I packed up a nice plate for him and I brought it to him, and he was like, I don't even like that. I'm laughing now, but he was just terrible. There was even a time where he lost his Metro Pass and we were walking to the station because we were downtown, and I was like, I'm sure it dropped on the way, like I'm sure it's there, like let's just go look. This was when Metro Passes were a thing, and I knew how much he spent since, you know, they're expensive. And he's like, it's not gonna be there. You know, he was kind of like being rude, taking his anger out on me that he lost it. And he's like, it's obviously not gonna be there, like being grumpy and shit. And I'm like, well, let's try. We went back and sure enough, I found it. I'm like, there it is. And then he just took it from me. He didn't even say thank you. he used to treat me, how he felt about me. I think he felt like I was annoying. I always felt like I was too emotional for him, but it was the abuse, you know what I mean? Like, he used to really put me down and stuff, and he made me feel like I was not enough. He would tell me stuff like, oh, I'm not strong enough. That was his favorite thing to say, you're not strong enough. When I started to lose weight, he was like, you're definitely not losing weight because of me. I'm the reason you're losing weight. He wasn't even concerned at all, like, about my weight loss, and everyone around me was telling me that I looked scary, that I looked sick, and I didn't even notice it. That's how bad it was. And I remember my best friend, I hadn't seen her in a long time. She saw me and she's like, are you okay? And I lied and I said, yes, I am. But my grandma was starting to get concerned because she would see that I wasn't eating. It was just like a very hard time in my life, and I definitely wasn't eating because I was uncomfortable with him, you know? He made me feel sad. I was always crying. I just wanted him to be a man and admit that he does not love me. Like, let's just break up. And every time I would try, he would just fight it. He would do everything in his power to get me back. Every time I would walk away, and I do not know why. I guess it was because of the ego. He didn't want to feel like he was the one that lost, you know? It was all about pride for him. There were so many other horrible things that he put me through, but he was lying to me the whole relationship. Finally, one day, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look through his phone. Because I just felt like something was not right. He would always tell me that I'm crazy. You're acting up, you're annoying, all that shit. One day I looked through his phone and I was right. He was talking to so many girls. I wanted to believe he wouldn't dare. Like, maybe he was just flirtatious, but what I saw was crazy. He had videos, hugging girls, kissing girls. He recorded everything. He was talking to girls inappropriately. I went through his laptop. There was literally a video, I think it was a video of a girl that I guess he just, you know, and she was butt-ass naked. He recorded it and he sent it to his friends, and he was bragging about how he just did the do with her, and he was really excited that her hoo-ha was pink. I will never forget that. His friends were bigging him up. These are friends that I don't know, that I've never met. They must have been ones from back home, but they were like, wow, yes, you finally did it with her. They're like, damn, I wanted to get in that too, but you got it. It was just so disgusting. For me, it was too R-rated. I think I was too innocent. I didn't know how to handle that. I was shocked. I was disgusted. I didn't know who I was with. I was beside myself. If I thought a guy was a dog before, I ain't seen a dog yet, because the type of stuff I saw was traumatizing. And he would post me and I just felt so embarrassed. And I remember, I think it was like the last day of college, I was freaking crying my eyes out. I told him, I'm like, I saw everything, and he was shitting bricks. A mutual friend of ours, a guy, well, he's not my friend anymore, but I remember seeing a text between them, and he was saying, you know, this is wrong, like, this is really wrong. You're on your way to the girl's house right now. This is like another, I guess another girl. And he was like, I know it's really wrong. And he was like laughing. It's like, I know Leah's gonna be so mad. The guy, sorry, it's not funny. I'm just trying to laugh it off because these are old wounds, you know? He was like, it's really not right. Like, you shouldn't be doing this to her. And he's like, I know, I'm gonna stop soon. Like, what? You're gonna stop soon? Sounds like you have a problem. When I confronted him, he sent me a letter, a freaking email, telling me everything that he had done, that he slept with like 5 women. I can't even remember the email because that's really behind me, but he didn't have the guts to tell it to me in my face. I told him I hate him, like, it was just bad, and I walked away. I deleted him, I blocked him on everything. I told my mom about it, I told everyone about it, so that I for sure wouldn't go back, because there would be so much shame. Because sometimes you don't have a clear mind, so you don't know what you'll do. So I made sure I told everybody. He would be calling me off of his friends' phones, like, you know, he'd be asking about me, showing up to my job, asking people about me. That was just it for me. And I think a couple couple years later, he sent me a message. I guess he found my new Instagram and saying how sorry and how terrible of a guy he was and God bless and all this fuckery. I just blocked his ass. I didn't even respond because at this time I had already moved on into like a new relationship. And then the next day he was spotted at the freaking X with some girl. Like my friend said they saw him. So it's like, can't even take his apology seriously. Like I wouldn't even care if it was a sincere apology, but it's like he's just disgusting, you know. He was just a disgusting person. I'm so glad I got out of that, and as soon as I left him I started gaining back the weight, but I had been struggling with my weight ever since I left him because I was never able to really get my body back to the way it was, because there was a lot of aftermath. There's a lot of depression that came from that relationship, anxiety, post-traumatic stress. There was so much that came after that I wasn't really able to regulate my weight. It's only now, like what, maybe 6 years later, I'm able to balance myself and maintain a healthy weight. The moral of the story time is that sometimes you have to give yourself grace because you were young or you were inexperienced or whatever. But I forgive myself for allowing that abuse and for staying with him even after he was gaslighting me, disrespecting me, putting me down, laughing at my pain in my face, tears running down my face, and he would literally be laughing. I had never been with somebody so evil. I think if he was to get himself checked out, that he would be diagnosed with narcissism. And I don't take it personal. I don't even really consider him my ex. I just refer to myself as a victim, and I was with somebody who was a narcissist. Like it wasn't real. Like the relationship wasn't really built on substance. You know, my confidence was so down, and he would tell me I had no confidence. And I think God was trying to teach me a lesson to know my worth, because I wasn't as confident as I thought going into that relationship. I think God taught me a lesson to help me understand that I shouldn't doubt myself. And when I was going into this relationship, I had all doubts, and it's all because I chose to make a decision and not listen to myself, and I let my self-esteem get low, and I allowed myself to be disrespected. So now, fast forward, I know what I want and what I don't want. I recognize things that are not supposed to be normal, and I call it out and I stand my ground. I know what boundaries are, and that's always going to be a trigger for me because of that relationship. I was attracting somebody like that because growing up, my dad, I think I talked about this before, he didn't really respect us with boundaries. We really didn't have boundaries. That wasn't really granted. Even though it felt wrong, it was normal for me, and it was hard for me to identify things that were abusive, you know? So it took me such a long time by the end of the relationship to realize, yo, he's disrespecting my boundaries. I do not want this. I can say that I'm 100% better now. I know a lot of women are in abusive relationships, and it could be physical and it could not be, but sometimes you don't know if you're in an abusive relationship because it's all mental. And a lot of the time we are dealing with narcissists. They constantly need praise, they exploit you, they don't have empathy. I think he needs to have at least 5 or 3 ticked off, and when I searched it up, he's all of them. He had dark energy. I used to get goosebumps. My stomach would sink. I'm so glad that I was able to get out of that, you know, because that's not me, and I do not need to be around that. Nobody needs to be around that. I hope I never cross paths with him again. I think if I see him, I'd probably throw up. I've always had a strong relationship with God, but I feel like after that terrible situation, I was able to strengthen my relationship with God. You always learn something. Like, it's unfortunate, but I learned a lot about myself. To treat another person like that, it's just really low. Like, it shows who they are as a person. I've let that part of my life go. Take the time to get to know somebody. If you feel like something is wrong, don't let anybody gaslight you. Everything that I told you guys, all of that is psychological abuse. No guy should be putting you down and telling you that you're not strong enough and you're not this and you're not that. And just get out of that situation as soon as you can. But thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it this far, share this video with anyone and everyone. Your mama, your baby mama, your dog, your cousin, all that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Do you have hairspray?